to speak out on Schiff's behalf. This guy's going to drown, folks, right here. He's done. So let's bring on Jerome Corsi right now. Let's not wait any longer. Jerome, thank you for joining me, sir. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's great to be back with you, Nino. Thank you.
Man, so nobody knows about this. In my opinion, I couldn't pick anybody better to talk about this specific indictment with Schiff and mortgage fraud than you. Obviously, Sean Taylor's done a lot of work, but you've been discussing things. You're in touch with Sean Taylor constantly, correct?
Yes, I have been in touch with him for months.
Okay.
And we've been reporting on it on 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗹, our website, GOD, no apostrophe S, and you spell out the word five, F-I-V-E, stones, plural. 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗹stones.com has a lot of information about Sean Taylor.
So this indictment, when is it expected to hit? I mean, what indictments are coming out right now? When's the Adam Schiff indictment coming? When is all this supposed to hit? I've heard this month. I've heard that it could be as soon as this month.
Well, it's first of all, the grand juries are convening and people are being subpoenaed.
Okay.
That's the first indication something's going on. And so Schiff, there's a lot in the news about him, and the mortgage fraud is the big Democratic fraud. The Democrats have learned how to play the banks for money laundering and then to get the money out through various kinds of mortgage fraud. Now, there's variations of the mortgage fraud. Sometimes like Letitia James or Adam Schiff and Swalwell evidently is also under the gun for this. They don't have a primary residence in the district for which they run for office, for instance. Okay, or they have gotten mortgage loans which are far in excess of the value of the property. Okay, so the Democratic Party, the fundamental understanding, and this is the research we've done, and you know, we've raised a good deal of money. We need to raise more to get this really fully investigated. But the Obama and Biden opened the border with Honduras in 2014, and they knew who they were dealing with. They were dealing with the president of Honduras, who was a member of the Sinaloa drug cartel. And they all wanted the same thing. They wanted to bring drugs into the country, cocaine. They had made a deal with China for fentanyl to come into the country, and they were bringing in unaccompanied minors.
Oh.
So 100,000 unaccompanied minors start showing up at the border, and they get picked up and disappear into the child sex trade or organ harvesting of children, which is extremely profitable. Okay, now the Democrats did this. This was the Democratic Party and the intelligence agencies have become a criminal money laundering operation on the scale of trillions of dollars. Okay, and the money that comes in through the border when it gets into a bank, and if you think about it for a minute, you can't run a drug cartel without a bank, because you can't drive around with a semi-truck full of $100 bills.
That's why they were using banks in what, Canada?
Banks in Canada. They used 3 banks in Canada, and TD Bank, which is Toronto Dominion, appears to be one of the major banks they used.
Wow.
Okay, and so the money comes into the banks. Now, money laundering, and I caught HSBC money laundering with the drug cartels in 2011. And they were fined $1.9 billion by the Department of Justice at that time. And they were money laundering has several phases to it. First of all, you've got to have illegal money. Okay, so you got to have piles and piles of money from cocaine, fentanyl, child sex trade, organ harvesting, and you're awash in cash. So you got to get it into the bank. That's number one. You got to place it in the bank. Once it gets placed in the bank has to internally account for it in a way that it disappears. Okay, so in other words, you can get phony, and there's Obama with all his cash. And by the way, there are pallets of Obama cash available for sale at discount.
What?
Internationally. Yeah, there are.
Oh, just because they know where this is going.
They know where it's going. And a lot of the money that Obama sent over to the Middle East and then those piles of cash. Remember, he sent all that money to Iran.
How do you have money for sale? I don't know how that works. What do you mean? Like
they get pallets and pallets of cash, and they can't get them into the banking system
Because it's dirty.
It's dirty.
So they what?
So they sell it at 80%. They sell it, 80% of the dollar will get you.
Because it's useless. They know it's going to be useless. Wow.
They discount cash to get it into someplace where they can use it.
If that's what's happening, Jerome, we all know where this is going, and it's going fast.
Yeah.
So do you think that Adam Schiff is going to be really the first break in the ice to make this just everything avalanche?
I think you're going to see a bunch of them happen almost simultaneously, because I believe you're finding that also. I mean, there's 3 investigations going on right now, which the one that pleases me maybe the most. I wrote this book, Partners in Crime, on the Clinton Foundation. And now it turns out that the Department of Justice is investigating the Clinton Foundation, finally.
Finally.
Which was just a big cash machine for the Clintons. They'd get every criminal oligarch in the world who wanted a deal of some kind or other, and they'd say, okay.
I had 𝗬𝗏𝗃 on talking about his son. I think he works for private airlines. And Bill Clinton flies by himself a lot now, and they're separated from Hillary because he knows Hillary's getting ready to, go down, basically, is what.
Well, Hillary's into this. Hillary, first of all, had a private email server when she was Secretary of State, which is against the rules. You're supposed to do all your official business over a government computer, so it can be monitored. Hillary had a private email server that she put State Department business on. And her assistant, 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗶𝗃, was putting some of those emails, including classified emails, on her Yahoo Mail account.
Jeez.
Okay, so anybody could read them who had their password and email. What they would do is, Bill Clinton was running the Clinton Foundation at that time. And so they would get in messages for, 𝗵𝗃𝗃, who was a oligarch in Ukraine, was one of the first to say he had, really hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, and he was willing to donate them to the Clinton Foundation, but he wanted certain favors done in Ukraine.
That's why that's so important, isn't it?
And so that Hillary would send emails to Bill, and Bill would coordinate with 𝗵𝗃𝗃. 𝗵𝗃𝗃 would invest in the foundation. Hillary would then grant the policy favor that 𝗵𝗃𝗃 wanted granted. And it's bribery. It's a bribery scheme.
Right.
Paid to play.
Pay to play.
Pay to play.
So let me ask you this, Jerome. I've not been really able to get a hold of Sean Taylor. He's doing some important work right now, right?
Well, Sean, last time I talked with Sean, I brought Sean's case into the Department of Justice. I made a major effort to get the attention of several people in the Department of Justice, and they took Act Blue on as a criminal case. The Department of Justice affirmed to me that they are investigating Act Blue. Okay, then I said, okay, you've got to get to talk to Sean Taylor, because we wanted Sean Taylor protected as a, witness protection program or something to protect him. And so the last time I called Sean, he said he could no longer do interviews because now he's so deeply into this is from our website, God's Five Stones. It's all about Act Blue. And he's so deeply into working with the federal government that now they don't want him talking to anyone except them.
That makes sense to me, and I'm fine with that. It's just great to know that, folks, I got to say, Nino'sCorner.tv was on this almost 2 years ago, talking about this. And Sean Taylor was one of the first guests we had to bring this to light. And then I came to the understanding that he was involved with you, Jerome, and you really helped him spring him forward. So, I mean, it's amazing that I've gotten to know people really deep in the trenches that are really paving the way for victory,
Well, your show is very important in that regard. You're on the cutting edge of a lot of topics. And your audience also supports and donates, which is tremendous. Makes it, those of us who are out there, your audience is very generous.
They're great. They're the Black Sheep family, Jerome.
Well, and you recruit them, and we suddenly have enough money to continue. I mean, it's a constant struggle. But this is critical, because all this dirty money that Obama and Biden engineered into the system consciously in a decision to get this illegal money flowing comes into the banking system. The CIA monitors it. The CIA backs off everybody on the border, so the Border Patrol can't do its job. These children show up and they disappear. You know, no legal procedures are being followed down on the border. It's just a catch and release.
Yeah.
Get a slip of paper, say come back for a hearing, which nobody ever does.
It's pathetic.
Okay.
Pathetic.
And then the money gets into the banking system, and suddenly at Act Blue, what Sean finds is that the head of Act Blue would buy $1 million house in Palo Alto, California, and get $30 to $50 million in mortgage loans on that house, which were showing up in LexisNexis as a transaction, but they don't show up in the deed because it really wasn't a mortgage loan. It was just booked as a mortgage loan internally in the bank to get it out of the bank into their hands. And once that mortgage loan, that bogus mortgage loan was made, it was erased in the bank records.
So is this bigger than USAID, you think? Is this?
Oh, yeah. This is trillions of dollars. I'll read you a report I have here on my desk about TD Bank, and I've collected a whole file of this. I'm intending to write an article here for American Thinker on it. But just let me read you some of the articles I've pulled on this. They're shocking. One on, in particular, on TD Bank. Let me just find it here. Okay. Yes. TD Bank, this is a Department of Justice Criminal Division press release right here that I'm reading from. And it's dated October 10th, 2024. And it says from January 1, 2018 to April 12th, 2024. So that's the, basically the last 2 years of Trump's first term in office and all of Biden's presidency. TD Bank failed to file money laundering reports on $18.3 trillion in transaction activity.
18.3 trillion with a T?
With a T.
That's insanity.
Trillion.
So this is how they're funding everything.
$18.3 trillion.
So this is it, Jerome. We have found out the core of their funding right here.
Yes. This is where they get their money. And then that money goes into Antifa and it goes into Black Lives Matter.
All the LGOs.
All the NGOs get it. I'm sure Soros is funded through some of this money too.
So let me get you another article here. The U.S. is at risk of another long shutdown from January 30th after paper-thin deal. Congress inched closer to opening up the government on Monday after passing a funding bill. However, another shutdown could come in the next months. Do you look at this, Jerome? Is this the Democrats basically surrendering?
Well, the Democrats are never going to surrender, but the Democrats are they're desperate, and they're calling out Antifa to act up against the Turning Point USA of Berkeley. The cities are going into a nightmarish effect of mobs in the cities, criminal activity running rampant. And, whether we have another shutdown or not, the Democrats are, as far as I'm concerned, they can shut down the government permanently.
Right, but Trump's using this as leverage against them, correct?
Yes, and he's winning. He's now exposing that Obamacare was a failure. That's getting exposed. He's been firing employees out of these departments that we don't even know the numbers yet that he's fired, gotten rid of. But the point is that just as I continue to read through all of these articles, I've got other articles here about the subpoenas are coming up, by the way. Congress is investigating Act Blue extensively, and so is the Justice Department, because this was the Democratic fundraising powerhouse, and it was fueled by illegal activity on the border. And the Democrats were feeding themselves through child sex trade.
Right.
That's how the Democrats were making their money. Okay, and then the TD Bank Canada had to pay $3 billion and pled guilty to charges in the U.S. after allowing drug cartels and other criminals to transfer hundreds of millions of dollars in illicit funds. Prosecutors said the bank operated with inadequate guards against money laundering for nearly a decade, failing to act even when the staff flagged obvious cases of abuse, such as a customer making daily deposits of $1 million in cash. That's
Wow.
TD Bank working with the drug cartels.
So is this all, Adam Schiff is going to be, like I said, the first big icebreaker. How
Yes.
long are these indictments going to take, Jerome? I mean, how long until this goes with what my audience wants to know, and I was just going to say point blank, until this goes military?
Well, what I say is happening is that it's already going military. Trump is putting the troops into the cities, and he's rounding up the illegals, and he's trying to quell the criminal activity going on, murders and robberies and stabbings in these cities, across the Democratic-run cities across the country. And if you take the cities out of the equation, almost every state in the union is conservative, is red. It's only the blue areas are the cities, okay, run by the Democrats.
Right.
Now, the problem is that, when the indictments are going to start coming, first watch the subpoenas from both the House and the House investigative activities and the Senate investigative activities, and then watch the subpoenas that come out of the Justice Department. Those subpoenas may come out of a state. For instance, you might get a attorney general in Florida or in Texas or in one of the states who's taking the lead on a particular investigation. And so they'll begin having a grand jury in Texas or wherever, and they'll call forward the national people they're investigating, Adam Schiff or whomever. And there's going to be not just 𝗬𝗏 James and Adam Smith, there's going to be other mortgage fraud cases. 𝗬𝗏𝗂𝗁.
This is going to link everybody together. This is going to tie everybody together and just throw them overboard, right? They're all going to drown on this.
And when it gets to Act Blue and you see the magnitude of it, also, by the way, here's another article. This was an article that it was in Natural News, but financial institutions flagged that 312 billion in Chinese money laundering networks came into the United States from 2020 to 2024 under Biden. So the Chinese have found that they can just put money into money laundering activities in the United States and get it wherever they want it to go, illegally. Okay, so I mean, the banks under the Biden administration were the Democratic Party's funding machine, getting illegal money from foreign nations and illegal drug activities on the border. The child sex trade and the child organ harvesting trade is much more profitable than drugs. And the fentanyl is a deadly, deadly drug, highly addictive, and people are, the Chinese are happy to supply that into the United States.
So Jerome, as this transpires and this picks up speed, more indictments come in, and all these things start really coming to the surface. I've been told that Trump is going to declare a national emergency at some point and sign an executive order related to before 2026 midterms, from what I'm understanding. Do you see that happening as well?
Yeah,
and is that when we're going to get back control of the ship right there?
That's largely my story. We broke that story on God's Five Stones.
Okay.
I had discussions with Peter Titkin, I've been working with since January on the voter and election fraud issue. And Peter has been in touch with the White House. It was Andrew Paquette's work, but we found the algorithms in all these state databases.
Right, let's be careful here. We're going to talk more about that on .tv, but just because of fluff tube purposes, when we go into
it. But what I'm saying is
on that, it gets a little crazy here.
What I'm saying is that you've got President Trump has even come out publicly in the last 2 weeks since the election of Mondami and the elections that were lost in New Jersey and in Virginia, has come out and said that there is an executive order under, it's being drafted.
Wow. Okay.
And I've had copies of various of the drafts that are circulating.
So let's get into what the deep state's next moves will be. Let me just read this commercial real quick, folks. In a recent clinical trial this year, women who took 2 of my skin, so that way I can hit.
Firstly, they've got to try to do something that's going to have a little more sympathy with the public, supporting, the gun running boats coming out of Venezuela and wanting us to stop interdicting them and blowing them up. That's not, they're not going to get much sympathy for that. Supporting Antifa and wanting to release the illegal immigrants that have been already arrested by ICE, that they're not going to get much sympathy for these kind of moves. So the Democrats are now going to pivot and say, we need to extend Obamacare.
Yeah, that's the card they're going to play, isn't it?
We have to extend Obamacare. Look at all the people who are going to be hurt if we don't extend Obamacare. All the people are going to lose their insurance.
I've also been told by Oscar Ramirez, who did a border report, Oscar Blue Ramirez, that he told me that all the immigrants are there on hold. They're basically holding the line in Mexico right now for an invasion in 2028. He says if we don't have a proper person in place by 2028, it's going to be Biden 2.0, and they're all being told to hold the line and come in on 2028. They're not going back.
Well, the key is that the Democrats would like to think that the MAGA movement's going to go away. They would like to think it's temporary. They would like to think they're permanent. They've got control of the universities. And so therefore they say that, the cultural war has been lost to the MAGA traditionalists. And the colleges support Hamas. They support, the anti-Semitism is at an all-time high. They are wanting to talk about, this is the whole neo-Marxism, cultural Maoism, and anarchy. That's, I think, one of the most important books I've written, because it explains how you've now gotten past Marx. Marx failed. There was not a Workers of the World revolt. So it morphed into the neo-Marxism attack on the culture of Marxism. And that's what Mondami's about. He's about the culture of Marxism. He wants to say that criminals are really the oppressed.
Jesus.
And that
defund the police.
Defund the police. And we need to have 9/11 calls answered by social workers.
That's insane. So the destruction of society, in other words.
Well, that's what they intend. They intend the cultural Maoism, which is, again, Mao destroying all the traditional values of China, the Little Red Book and all of that. People don't remember it, but it was right after Mao took over, after the Great Leap Forward. They had the Cultural Revolution, and it descends into anarchy. But the whole point is to get it to descend into anarchy. They want to destabilize the society. That's what they do. They want to destabilize things.
So then their next move has to be, like you said, to destabilize society and cause chaos.
Yes.
Because right now it's breaking that Latin street gangs in Chicago are now ordering members to shoot on sight when ICE is conducting raids. DHS officials tell Fox. So this is insane. So they're now going to be opening fire on ICE agents. Now, I haven't seen this happen yet, but the orders have been given to open fire on ICE agents. You know that the governors and mayors are all working very hard for ICE agents to show their identity. In other words, that way they can be targeted and murdered.
That's right. The whole goal here is to suppress the activity of ICE so that it can't function. In other words, to alert the illegal aliens that a raid is coming, to hide them, to do everything possible to deter ICE from its mission, and to fight ICE in the streets. Okay, so what Trump is doing now and moving towards doing is saying these are crimes. These people are going to be arrested and prosecuted. It's also going to be arrests and prosecutions over the way the states have been running elections. You'll see much more of that. In other words, Trump was determined to come in and restore election integrity. That's one of his major objectives. And to expose what happened in 2020. And he won't forget that. He's also going to expose the J6, and he's on that whole theme. And he's not going to, a whole series of pardons were issued. So all of the statements I made, including on your show about this, this Todd Blanche, BLANCHE, who was the Deputy Attorney General running the Department of Justice, who was not a MAGA supporter, even though he was a lawyer who represented Trump in between times in office in the New York cases where they were trying to put Trump in prison. He was blocking the pardons. He was blocking the voter integrity issue. Well, he's evidently been moved aside. Pam Bondi's taking a more assertive role again. And now we're starting to see these subpoenas coming in on all three areas. We're seeing subpoenas on the coup d'etat from Obama, on the Clinton Foundation, and on Act Blue and the mortgage fraud issues. There's my book on coup d'etat. I wrote that in 2020. I was involved in it. They wanted to put me in prison because they said I had the tie to Julian Assange that would have made the Russian collusion theory valid. And I did not have a tie. They threatened they were going to put me in front of a jury. I would go to prison the rest of my life, or I could take a plea deal and say I lied. I did have a tie to Assange, which I didn't. I refused to take the plea deal. And they did not indict me.
You're a true patriot.
In fact, they closed down the Mueller investigation because I refused to take their plea deal.
Wow.
Had I taken the plea deal, they would have made their case against Trump. They would have impeached him and tried him for treason.
Are you
that
in
was
touch
their
with
plan.
Trump? You talk to Trump? I mean,
I've talked to Rudy Giuliani, and Rudy Giuliani affirmed that he and Trump saw my plea deal, and they agreed that if I broke, they were coming after Trump, and they had him. So my refusal to take the plea deal was critical to stopping the Russian collusion investigation. And that destroyed my 32-year marriage.
I'm sorry to hear that.
My wife had an affair, wanted me to quit politics. Well, I think God took her out of my life and put me back to work. So,
and also people can give to you on God's 5 stones, correct? They could donate there?
Yes, that's greatly appreciated because this has been a constant struggle.
You and my other guest, John Carmen, have had some trouble with women.
Well,
so a lot of people have sympathy over that, and they donate to you guys. So hopefully, folks, give to Jerome Corsi, help get him back on his feet.
It's a 32-year marriage. I was faithful to her, and she wanted me out of politics, wanted me to quit writing.
You can, I can give you some free therapy sessions from Sancho. Okay, I can get your fucking head right. Don't worry.
My head's okay. I accept. I don't hate her.
I'll be begging for you to come back. Okay.
No, and that's not going to happen. You don't get do-overs on certain things in life.
It's all right, Jerome. I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to finish here with my broadcast, folks. Go to God's 5 Stones, and we're doing another podcast Thursday, right? We're doing a.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we're going to do that on .tv. So go to ninoscorner.tv. I want to bring you back on for General's Tent also, Jerome, because you're doing such amazing work. So thank you. Go to gods5stones.com. Give the guy a donation. Help the man get back on his feet because help him pay for some therapy lessons. All right. Thank you, Jerome, so much.
Thanks, Ito.
You got it, my man. Thank you. All right, folks. So, interstellar object, 3-eye atlas, shows evidence of galactic cosmic ray. So this is not great news for all those hopeful scientists out there. A team studying the spectra of interstellar comet 3-eye atlas has found evidence of galactic cosmic ray processing. While interesting and certainly worth knowing, it really isn't the best news that astronomers have received. It may be very disappointing, actually, because why? Well, it may not be alien after all. Yeah. So, in case you're just catching up, on July 1st, 2025, astronomers at the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System Atlas spotted a fairly large object shooting through our solar system on an escape trajectory. As the world's telescopes quickly turned towards it, it was established to be an interstellar object, our third confirmed interstellar visitor after I don't know how to say this word. Observations of 3-eye atlas soon showed that it was a comet with a distinct comma formed of ice and dust. There's been plenty of puzzling aspects to the object, from its development of a rare anti-tail to its unusual chemical makeup, but we should not be too surprised or be surprised given that it's only our third interstellar visitor and maybe a 10 billion year old time capsule from an earlier age of the universe. Studying it can tell us about the environment it came from, which may be very different from our own part of the galaxy. So I've had a lot of guests on talking about 3i Atlas and things of that nature. And you know, me personally, I think it's going to be a big nothing burger. That's me personally, but I still like to bring out the info because you never know when the government's going to play the alien card. You never know. So that's why I cover these articles, folks. That's why. Tucker Carlson draws scorn for new details over demonic attack. I'm not embarrassed. Folks, I've had demonic attacks. I'm sure all of us have. They mainly came when I was drunk. But political commentator Tucker Carlson was prompted, or has prompted, renewed scorn after providing more details about a supernatural attack he alleges happened to him in his bed in February 2023, months before Fox News. That's when it happened to me as well. I've said this many times. I was attacked by a shadow person who sat on my chest. It was like a child, and it was giggling, and it was laughing, and it was holding me down. So I know these things exist. I know for a fact these things exist. I saw this damn thing on my chest, holding me down, and it felt like it was sucking something out of my body, like out of my chest. It was crazy. During an extensive interview last Thursday, the fellow former Fox News host Megyn Kelly Carlson suggested the attack was in response to a positive supernatural experience he had the day before, during which he experienced love towards someone he hated. Wow. Culturally, I'm just not from a world where people are attacked by demons, Carlson said. He noted it becoming increasingly difficult to dismiss the demonic in the wake of Annunciation Catholic Church shooting and Charlie Kirk's assassination. I'm not embarrassed at all, and I don't care if I'm mocked, Carlson said. I don't get anything out of making this up, and I'm not making it up. Folks, these things are real, and I firmly believe that these things are real. There's Tucker on my friend Sean Ryan's show. Awesome. This is awesome. So to me, folks, I think Tucker's doing great work right now. He's really leading the charge right now in the awakening. I think I'm doing my part in the back end, but hey, some people need more of need to be front and center. And I think the whole demonic attacks are real. It happened to me, and I know for a fact because this happened to me. This was I was probably about 28, 29 years old when this happened, and when it happened, I remember I woke up the next morning going, "Man, did that really just happen? Did I just witness an entity sit on my chest and hold me down?" I couldn't believe it, and I heard when it got off the bed, a laughter into the den. Now I was staying at my parents' house at that time. My parents woke up the next morning and they said, "Who did you have here last night?" I didn't bring it up to them, nothing. This was still swirling in my head, like, did that really happen? And I go, why? And they go, we heard some child laughing in the den, some kid-like laughter in the den that woke us up, and the dog started crying. When they said that, I knew, stamp of approval right there. My skin crawled. I got goosebumps, and I was like, oh my Lord, that thing was real. Because you tend to think you're crazy, right? When something like that happens, like that's so out of your reality. And it happened, folks. It really did happen. So I believe Tucker Carlson. I know these things exist. I don't know what they are. I think they're demonic. I think they feed off our energy, emotions. That's why they're always keeping the world in distress and in war. They're negative entities that feed off our emotions. I really believe that. And that's why this planet is so difficult, because that's how they live, these negative entities. And I have a theory about gravity. I think, anyway, I can go into that on another show, but let's first get into what the fuck news in what the fuck news in what the fuck news. Well, it's finally here. AI has taken over music, like I said it would. Look how fast this happened. A AI country song rollicks to the top of U.S. sales on charts. So it's #1 right now, and it's AI. A country music song featuring a male singer's voice generated by artificial intelligence reached the top of the U.S. charts for the first time this week. Say goodbye to artists, man. I mean, we're going to have to be competing against AI. I haven't heard this song yet. I want to hear it. I want to see what it sounds like. Probably pretty good. Walk My Walk by Breaking Rust, an artist with no identity, but widely reported by U.S. media to be powered by generative AI technology, made it to the top spot on Billboard magazine's chart-ranking digital sales of country songs, according to data published Monday. AI-generated songs are creeping into the music charts in various scenes and country music, a uniquely American genre made famous by artists like Johnny Cash. What's going to happen to like the Grammys? What's going to happen? Well, we're going to give it to a robot? A fucking how is this going to work? Folks, I'm telling you, man, and I think this is the new frontier. AI is taking over everything. This, to me, is not good news. I don't, a lot of people, don't worry about it. It's just algebra. It's no big deal. I think it's a big deal. I think it's a very big deal. Well, it depends who, David, it depends who controls the AI. Well, who's the purpose? Maybe that's why everything's so silent on the battlefront, because they know they already won. Maybe that's it. They know they won because they control AI. They're like, let them fight it out. We got the AI. We got it all. Let them believe in Trump. It's okay. Hey, it's all good. We control the AI. We control the technology. Whoa. Let the dollar crash. It's okay. We control AI. We control all the technology. Let them go. Let them go. See what I'm saying? I don't know. It sure does seem like the B system to me. I'm telling you, folks, we're in interesting times. Alex, are you there?
Interesting times indeed, Nino. Interesting times indeed.
Man, I'm telling you, dude. Things are getting wacky. AI, finally. Remember when Queen, what was the guy's name? Queen.
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. He said, music will lose its soul. Bro, it doesn't even have a soul anymore. It's done. We are now in that time.
Yeah.
He never anticipated AI. He just saw the technology advancing, but I don't think he anticipated AI making songs, creating songs and singing them.
Yeah, I know. He might have been just talking about like computer music production, which we're already way past.
That's what he was. Yeah, I mean, dude, this is no more heart and soul, no more feeling.
It can do some cool stuff. Like there's a place for it, and I guess there's always going to be some portion of the population now till forever that just wants to be all in on AI, or just really or to them it's like whether it's AI or not AI, I don't care. I just enjoy it. Like there's going to be a new kind of like way that people grow up and like learn to process things and appreciate things. I heard a really cool someone made an AI version of Back in Black, by AC/DC.
Oh yeah,
but it was
one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, it was so good. But then it was like a soul version. Like it was like,
wow,
like soul music, but it was really good. Look it up, people. Back in Black soul version. It's on YouTube. But so there's
someone put in here that they should have AI awards specifically just for AI music. I think that's probably what needs to happen.
That's probably where things are going. Like we need to have things need to be tagged as AI or used AI in the creation of it somehow, and maybe there'll just have to be separate categories and
And they're going to do this with movies. That you're not going to have directors anymore. You're not going to have actors. Dude, where is this going?
Well, I think there'll still be a desire for the human element, but it's not going to, some of it's going to just be replaced. Some of it is going to be, people are going to choose AI over the human
Have you noticed that there's not really any real human stories anymore? If you put it on Netflix, it's, at least from what I can see on Netflix, it's all doom and gloom and end of world shit.
Yeah,
it's just like really negative dystopian stuff on Netflix, right? That's like the theme.
Yeah, no, that's true, man. And Matt Walsh actually just went on an interesting covered this where like the last great movies ended and shows even ended around like 2006, 2007, 2008. Was kind of like the last, and then after that it's been kind of a decline. They're not really telling new stories, and there's not like a shared culture around it where everybody went and saw these movies. Everybody like saw Seinfeld and Friends and stuff in the house, and even if you didn't really follow it, there was kind of this shared like sense of, I don't know, entertainment culture that's just not.
I remember when movies used to really make me like cry, laugh. I mean, I don't get that anymore. It's all like this weird negative dystopian, like, it's just negative. It's all negative. That's why I watch like documentaries on YouTube and shit. Like I turn on YouTube, I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. And that's where I go now. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I go to YouTube for most of the stuff I'm watching now.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, really. So that's what it is. Well, Alex, thanks for joining me. What's today? Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday today. So.
All right, man. So what do you think about the Timothy Alberino show last night?
Oh, it was so
big,
good
right?
last night.
Yeah,
Phenomenal show.
That was huge. Folks, thank you for joining us. Keep it up. Share, like, subscribe, do the whole thing. I got Joshua Reed coming on. I got Ringside with Nino tonight on ninoscorner.tv. Look, those of you that have signed up to ninoscorner.tv and Ringside with Nino, just check your email. You'll be getting a Zoom. Probably you should have already got it. So I'll see everyone tonight at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Alex, I'm out of here later. And the new heavyweight champion of podcasting and the black sheep of broadcasting,